So guys, yeah, as I was saying, we found Mr. Drebber. We found mock-ups of his stuff in his room. We found him hiding in a safe. We found a time bomb that Sholmes insisted was possibly a... also, how about I actually put the game up on my screen? There we go, I can see it. Would you expect anything less from me? Heck no. Not at all, and I'm okay with that. More than okay. So, yeah, he turned everything in his room upside down and then planted a time bomb in the room as well, and then went and hid in the safe that is down there below us. The only reason he tipped everything upside down is because he wrote on the underside of the furniture the combination for the safe, and he was trapped back here. And Sholmes thought the guy somehow reversed gravity, walked on the roof where those footprints are. Up there, not there. That way, Matt. Up there, and left through the skylight. And he thought the time bomb was the reversal thing. And then this guy's like, okay, you found me, but maybe you should turn the bomb off first before we talk. And we're like, oh shit, it's still ticking. And Sholmes managed to defuse it with like 15 seconds to spare or something like that. So nothing, you know, too dangerous. But yeah, now we get to chat to him. Like, there's been the obvious time bomb. And he's like, but it could be an anti-gravity machine. Disguised as a time bomb. No, Sholmes, no. Nah, lad, nah. Let's just refamiliarize ourselves, it's been a while. Oh, right! We also had that whole thing last stream with the waxwork model that was stolen. We find out that this professor that the waxwork model was of, this guy supposedly resurrected from the dead, after he was hanged, he was a mass murderer, and the waxwork section showed a waxwork of this guy, Mr. Drebber, with a shovel in his hand and a camera, as though he was going to go and dig it up and take a picture, dig up the body. So he was involved in all of that, and this waxwork that was then found and returned had this glass shard in it, which comes from the Crystal Tower. So we know the body that crashed into the tower in one of these bird cages, in the bird cage, was probably the waxwork model, and then it may have been swapped in the confusion with the real Odie Asman, the victim of the stabbing. So yeah, we've found here as well the waxwork head was inside, because the thing was returned but it was missing its head, and it's obviously got some kind of executioner's iron mask thing on it. Find out that that was here in this room inside a mock-up of the balloon. It was hovering up there. We shot it down. So yeah, quite a lot going on. Still not many answers. Let's get some. What happened here? What on earth happened here? You've found me, haven't you? No need to screw me down any further. Everything in here is precisely what it seems. Joanna! Hello! How are you? Been a while. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Come on in. Happy Monday. How's life treating you? Yeah, well, we'll be giving it a thorough going over, don't you worry, Drebber. You're fine and pretty. Awesome. That's what we like to hear. What fails to click with me is how you were able to locate my workshop. That I was not expecting. When I heard whistling from the other room, I knew it was time to bolt. Whistling? Ah, that would have been me. Oh. For some reason, I woke in fine fettle today. Ready for hot folks in game? Nice. Well, he's got hot fish and chips. Does that count? No words, just tightly squeezed chips. Clearly, I must have a screw loose, though, as I couldn't remember the combination for the safe. And another one loose And another one loose, as I couldn't remember on which piece of furniture I'd written it down. We also found a rope over by the wall. Yes, I'd hoped to exit through the skylight, but sadly the rope was too short. So, I then set about searching for the combination to open the safe. Squeeze them harder, yes. And burning the incriminating blueprints, don't forget. Regrettably though, you failed to retrieve the head from the balloon among the rafters. And after that you hid yourself in the safe, having first set this parcel ticking. Well, I had no intention of being nailed by the police. So you're admitting guilt? Got a death wish, have you? Hiding right beside a ticking time bomb. Please, why do you suppose I chose to hide inside the safe? Because it was the safest place in the room. It is no ordinary safe, it is specially designed. A dynamite explosion wouldn't leave a scratch on it. Yeah, but I think the combustion would cause all the oxygen to get consumed in the room and you could suffocate in there. So in fact, the safe was the only safe place. Sholmes, I already made that joke. Get your own. Precisely. But once you climbed inside, you wouldn't have been able to get out again. He looks innocent as hell. Exactly. He doesn't look like a villain, does he? Let's be honest. Look at him. He's, you know, just so normal. You could pass this guy in the street and make no remark about his character. Look at him. I invite you to look more closely. The safe is fitted with a handle on the inside to allow the door to be unlocked from within. Ah, so it is. I had always intended to blow this place to smithers in any case. I just wasn't expecting uninvited guests to come along and screw up my plans. Do you mean to say you were planning to blow us all up? No, that was unforeseen. What do you mean? Most people run, you see, when they see a ticking time bomb at their feet. Well, we had Sholmes with us. He ain't most people. I calculated the time required for retreat to a safe distance and then set the device accordingly. But your seemingly endless discourse in here threw a spanner in the works. Is something wrong, Gregson? Do I have something on my face, besides the usual eyes, ears, nose, and mouth? I think we have a fairly good idea what's been going on here now, but what about the two incidents you've evidently been involved in recently? Professor Harebrain's instantaneous kinesis experiment at the Great Exposition, and the waxwork model you stole, which this head belongs to. But that's no ordinary head, you know. That is the head of the Professor. Clad in a mask with a lock so strong, I'm unable to open it safely to retrieve the killer's identity. Oh, is that what he wanted to do? He wanted to know who... Oh, whoa! I didn't get to read all that! No! Don't skip forward, game! I'm calculating here! How dare you! Whatever those guys said, I hope you guys were reading it. I mean, I could just push the history button. I've been considering carrying it around as protection after all. What? And then Dr. Scythe? I still don't know how. I'm just going to keep saying Scythe. I don't know, I was focused on my cheese soup. Cheese soup? Whoa! Oh, now I want that. I had peppercorn steak earlier, though. So, I mean, you know, with potatoes and veg, I'm fairly full. But I could squeeze in some cheese soup, I think. It sounds amazing. So, wait a minute then. So he stole the professor's waxwork body in order to take off the helmet from the head so that he can see what the head looked like underneath. because Madame Tuspells would have been allowed to make an actual waxwork of the head, but then they would, for the reality of the scene they were posing, they would have needed to put the iron helmet on it. She wouldn't have just cut corners, probably, and made it an iron helmet waxwork. See, I was thinking he did that. He took the body, hoping that it maybe bore some resemblance to Odiasman. Hey, Ms. Prague, winning? Always. Always winning. How are you today? Nice to see you. So, yeah, that's thrown a spanner in the works of my theory. So why would he have needed to know what the professor looked like? That's curious. And what has that got to do with the whole instantaneous kinesis scam and the killing of Odiasman? We still have no workable theories, and this bit of information just killed the only one I was working on. Maybe the professor was his past lover. But then he would know what he looked like. I mean, because he didn't wear that mask all the time. You know, that was put on for his execution. That was like after he was murdered. They put the mask on him. Not bad, thanks for asking. Oh, good, I'm glad to hear that. What's going on here, Gregson? I'm sure you're aware that I have sole jurisdiction to investigate here. Yes, well, Dr. Scythe again? So the forensics investigation team are here. And you know full well this engineer is a key witness. Why are you allowing this lawyer access to him? We were just searching the place, and he happened to be here. Keep your hair on. I mean, they could have put the mask because of kink, maybe. I mean, you know. We don't shame. If Lord Strongheart knew of this, you'd be finished. You lot, leave at once. My dear madam, there's no need for such a threatening tone, I assure you. After all, that's no way to greet an old acquaintance, is it, Dr. Scythe? Hello, Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes knows Dr. Scythe. If it's protecting the machine next door that's causing such a sour expression on your face, you are quite misguided. It's really nothing more than a shell. Get out! Ooh. I bet she's the killer. She does look villainous, doesn't she? Back to work. No problem, Ms. Prague. Happy lurking, and good luck with your work. But of course, we show ourselves to the door. I see you haven't softened at all. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes? It would appear that our delightfully entertaining investigations have run their course for today. But, Mr. Sholmes? Let us leave this place in the doctor's capable hands. I said get out, now, all of you. Your presence here is not required either, Gregson. Oh, Gregson's getting thrown out too. Understood. And I'll just say one thing before I head off. If it wasn't for this lawyer and his companions, we'd have never found this place, and the whole workshop would have been blown to bits. There was a time bomb set in here that this lot disarmed. Inspector. Yes, so take that. You'd have got here just in time to inspect the rubble. What? Something giving you a chuckle, has it, Drebber? He's like, that wasn't the only bomb. Pretty sure this whole place is covered in fish and chip bits. Oh yeah, everywhere Gregson's been, there's just debris from fish and chips everywhere. Ah, so sorry. I didn't mean to offend. You're quite right, of course. You did disarm the time bomb, didn't you? Yes, you did disarm that one. Eh? What are you... That one? You mean... Run, you fools! Oh. Oh. machine! And those 2 officers! Oh, 1 day away from retirement! The other one was 1 day away from getting fired because he's terrible at his job, but still. It was an hour later that we had heard the news of the enormous explosion that ripped through the experimentation stage at the Great Exhibition. Professor Harebrain's invention and all of its secrets were blown away forever. Good, there were a couple so they didn't widow anyone. Wait, so that's the end of this section. We could have finished that little bit off in the last time I streamed this. Instead I was like, oh, we're probably going to be stuck in this conversation wheel now for the next 45 minutes. I need to go. You never know with these games how long they're going to take. Well, problematic. Still, have a trial to finish, a guy to defend, no evidence now. Good morning to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, good morning, Professor. Ready for today's proceedings? I hope so. I should be. Even I, with nothing left to... Good morning, my dear fellows. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you're here. Why, naturally. A true gentleman stands shoulder to shoulder with his friends in battle at all times. Yeah, apart from all the times you didn't. But, you know, cheers for being here now. Uh-huh. Thank you, I really appreciate it. I'll see you later then, apparently. Ooh, savage. Like, oh, you're not talking about me, obviously, so bye. Now, Professor, we really need to remain calm in the courtroom today. Yes, do try your hardest not to enter the witness stand uninvited again. And then, you know, nearly torpedo your whole case by confessing. My dear fellows, I must interject. You're still here. Oh, God. Yeah, I just said that. See, I could write these games. I know what they're going to say somehow. Oh, you're still here, Mr. Sholmes. What's the matter? Surely you've overlooked some praise, have you not? To be cast in my direction? Sorry, I don't follow. Must I spell it out? I, the great Herlock Sholmes, the great detective, worldwide acclamation, arose at some ungodly hour to be here now. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. First thing in the morning, a miracle, you must agree. Well, if I must agree, then... As you know, my sleep is quite impregnable. Iris had to employ a full gamut of tactics. She pulled the covers off, shook me, poked both cheeks, punched me, and kicked me from the bed. Then she poured a boiling cup of her latest experimental blend on my face, and at last I was bestirred. Oh my, Iris has been busy. Now she needs to go to bed because she's all tuckered out, poor thing. Iris didn't have it in her to go that far. She's too nice. That alarm clock sounds kinky, I like it. Oh god. Oh no. Ah, I sense the spirit of a fellow scientist, one who relishes in the infinite possibilities of blending tea. I'm the one worthy of praise here, not Iris. This is my victory. Sorry to cut in. Oh, it's this guy. Oh, Inspector Gregson. Good morning. Gregson, my dear fellow. Why the grim expression at this delightfully early hour? It's 10 o'clock. Oh, I don't know. Maybe because I've been confronted with a grimmer expression, eh? Oh, dear me. Are you going to take that insult lying down, Professor? What? What? I don't know! Poor Professor. Anyway, here's the paperwork you asked for. What paperwork? Ooh, nudge nudge, wink wink. I took the liberty of requesting it yesterday. I have a feeling it may prove useful. Well, it's 9/11, so not 10 yet. It's closer to 10 than it is to... 8. Okay? You wouldn't believe the hoops I had to jump through to get this brought out of the archives. It's the Professor's autopsy report. Mass murderers? Who killed 5 members of the aristocracy, including one of Van Zykes' like his older brother or something? He was found guilty in a closed trial 10 years ago now. It was all done under wraps. And he was quickly executed soon after the trial. It's all in here. Okay. I mean, we know this is going to be related somehow. I don't know what to say. Thank you, Inspector. Yes, much obliged, Gregson. Those lovely lot at the yard are just doing what we can. In the shadows of the great detective, Sholmes, of course. So if Wolfie ends work at 4 PM, then he looks at the clock, it's 3:11 and goes home. Yes. Doesn't everybody? Well then, Professor Harebrain, this is it. Today we're gonna lay it all to rest at last. I wish you the best of luck, Professor. Suppose he'll be in there today, will he? Drebber. Yes, we expect the prosecution to summon him as a witness. I'm still amazed that you managed to find him in just one day. I really owe you both so much. Well, I mean, you weren't making it easy. Counsel for the defendant. I'm the defendant. The trial is about to resume. Kindly make your way to the courtroom at once. Well, let's have a look at this file as well. This is it then, the final chapter. Funny, my heart's racing a little. What is this file? What do you have in you? Redacted for confidentiality, pseudonym the Professor, so they know who he was. And death by hanging confirmed midnight, 17th of June, by Courtney Stevens. And that's it? That's the whole file? You could have just given me that on, like, a fucking library card or something. Yeah, the final chapter. Well, not of the game, sadly. Well, not even sadly, actually. Very good. But anyway. Latch there, and a latch there, and there's a lock here. So yeah, there's going to be 2 more court cases after this, I believe. This lock does look very strong, doesn't it? There's definitely no way you could remove the mask yourself if it was put on you. What a terrible way to treat someone, even a convicted criminal. I know, it's starting to make me livid, actually. Mr. Naruhodo, please. I mean, just think about it. Imagine if you had an itch on your cheek all of a sudden, being utterly helpless. Well, yes, that's true. But I'm not sure that warrants quite so much anger. I don't know, you don't have an itch on your cheek that you can't stretch. You talk to me when you do. Alright, sorry. Nothing else we can do with the head. We didn't really look at that. Did we look at the science trophy? Yes, we did. And it just had a nameplate on it. In nondescript, with no name, actually. It was just left lying around like it wasn't important. I've not felt this before, actually. The strange foreboding. As if something's going to happen in this trial that I'm not ready for. But I can't let that distract me from the only thing that really matters. Finding the truth. Because the truth will set you free. Or it will incarcerate you if you are the bad guy and you're about that. But anyway, you know, an odd saying really when you think about it. Doesn't apply to everything. Oh, and also, yeah, the apprentice is here this time as well. Van Zykes' apprentice, who we now believe definitely is Kazuma Asogi. Because he has amnesia and he doesn't know who he is. Really? We're buying that, are we? In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the public hearing of Albert Harebrain, here present who stands accused of murder. Are the counsels for the prosecution and the defense ready to proceed? Amnesia! Yep. There he is, look, with his mask on and everything. Apparently, Lord, what's-his-face? Niall Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice. Doesn't want anyone to know who he is, probably because he knows it's Kazuma Asogi. I don't think even Van Zykes knows who he is. When we, when Susato, froze up when she spotted this guy and was like, Kazuma? You know, oh shit, it's him. And even Van Zykes was like, what? What are you guys talking about? What do you mean? But here's the thing, right? So Kazuma Asogi from the first game, he was the friend of Ryunosuke Naruhodo, the guy we're playing. And he acted as his judicial aid in the first trial because it was the trial that Ryu was on trial for murder for. But it was someone else that did it. He proved himself innocent. Kazuma Asogi was on the track to become a lawyer, whereas Ryu was doing, I think, English literature. But Kazuma got him to change his mind and follow the track of the lawyer instead, and then he smuggled him on board the SS Buria, the ship that they came across to England in, because Kazuma was going to come here and study English courts as part of a cultural and, knowledge exchange, like a skills exchange program with the British Empire. So, on the route, he was killed. Quite by accident. It turned out to be an accidental death, but it looked like that Ryu had killed him because he was hidden in the room because he was stowing away on the ship. So he was hiding in the closet for the whole trip, for the whole few months that it takes to get there and back. It was accident. Well, it was very provably an accident. It was like, oh shit, this was just he stumbled at the wrong moment as the ship bucked and he smacked his head against the bedpost and broke the back of his neck. And he was dead, supposedly. And Herlock Sholmes was there. He was called in to investigate by the crew, even examined Kazuma and said he was dead, and then proceeded to find out where Ryu was hiding, and a whole bunch of other stuff happened since then. But he then helped us figure out the case and that he didn't murder him. He just said, oh, there's also a man hiding in that cupboard, and that was it. And the crew thought, he murdered him, get him. So, yeah. But he helped us figure out that we were innocent and what had really happened, and got it all cleared up. And then they turned the body over to authorities in Hong Kong, and then it went missing. We only found that out recently. Never arrived back in Japan. So, what the heck happened? And then this guy shows up who's kind of like him and strikes a familiar essence, and it's like, I said earlier on in the game, I'm pretty sure that's Kazuma Asogi. I just got a gut feeling it's him earlier in this case. And then, we found out it possibly is, and that this kid has amnesia, and it's like, okay, I see where we're going with this. Sarah, hello! Thank you for the take a drink redeem. I need it after that recap. So, yeah, that's basically who this guy is. We still haven't had the full reveal, but the suspicion has been thrown out there now by the characters. So, that'll be interesting. We'll see how this goes. And he's apparently acting now as Van Zykes' judicial aid. This is going to be pretty weird. Prosecution is ready, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The masked guy should watch out. He's on the shooting line of wine glasses. He's in the trajectory zone, yeah. Van Zykes is going to have to be very careful when he tosses wine glasses around. He's probably going to pass it to Kazuma and then let him throw it. As promised, Lord Van Zykes has his apprentice with him. His apprentice with memory loss. If I may, Lord Van Zykes. Yes, my lord. There appears to be someone standing at your side. Oh shit, hi. Ah, yes, my apprentice and assistant. The prosecution believes today's proceedings will see the complexity of the case rise considerably. Oh shit! Oh, that was cool! Nice! I therefore instructed my assistant to attend to ensure the smooth running of the trial. That was cool! Nice! They've made extra animations for these guys, there's two of them, that's fantastic. And the smooth running of the liquid refreshments by the look of it. The way he holds himself, the way he moves, it couldn't be anyone else. But he's still suffering from amnesia, so there's really nothing we can do at the moment. I know, but oh, this is so very hard. It would appear the prosecution has done a fine job in responding to the demands of the court made yesterday. No, he did it. We found him. Shush. I understand you've successfully secured the engineer who disappeared from the scene the day in question. Yes, my lord. I intend to call him as a witness shortly. Very good. Very good. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, who have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this courtroom today, are you ready and willing to proceed? Of course, my lord. I'm sure we'll all understand the importance of doing our civic duty. I do so despise deception and deceit. I find it so very wearing. To take a man's life with a conjuring trick, it is against the magician's code, not to mention the law. Any fake scientist should feel the wrath of God, you ask me? We have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence, and, then settle on one. That's it, isn't it? Wasn't like this in my day, wasn't like this at all. If all parties are ready to proceed, you may begin, Lord Van Zykes. Before I do, my lord, there is a report I must read to the court. Yesterday at the Great Exhibition Grounds, the evidence of primary importance to this case, the super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine, which was installed on the experimentation stage, was deliberately destroyed in an explosion affected by an unknown person or persons. It was what? An explosion? This is an outrage! Yes, I heard this grave news yesterday. Scotland Yard submitted a report to my office in the evening. I read that the machine was blasted to smithers, and the wreckage reduced to ash and flames. Damn, look at that. But look, the hatch is open! I have here a photographic print of the scene taken in the wake of the explosion. Look! It's actually shown as what I said it could do, that there would be a hatch in the floor and whoever was in there, whoever the imposter was, dropped down through the floor. Or that it was actually the real Odie Asman who dropped through the floor and was stabbed under the stage, out of sight, and then moved up to the Crystal Tower to replace the fake one that came out of the balloon. I'm still holding to that theory, but the waxwork body? How that all fits in. It shows what little remains of the machine. Yes, a terrible business. He did it to destroy the evidence, didn't he? That Enoch Drebber. Damn him. Court will take this print as evidence, counsel. Late yesterday afternoon, the protection afforded to the machine by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act was revoked. However, before a thorough investigation could begin, the invention was obliterated from existence. As such, this will become a very different trial. Oh yes. As it stands now, with no evidence on which to draw meaningful conclusions, the authenticity of the kinesis machine will remain forever in obscurity. Indeed, a most unfortunate state of affairs. However, one thing remains clear. The victim's death was the result of the actions of the accused. Of that we can be certain. Or it was the accused himself who was operating the machine and who ultimately caused its loss of control. As Lord Van Zykes rightly says, this is a very different trial now. The accused accepts responsibility for his part in the events that transpired. He acknowledges that Mr. Asman died as a result of the accident caused by his machine's malfunction. However, unbeknownst to the Professor, he was being deliberately deceived by a pair of very clever fraudsters. Names, counsel, if you please. The engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, and the victim himself, Mr. Odie Asman. So what exactly were these two men up to behind the defendant's back? The defense intends to expose that information, thus establishing the unequivocal innocence of the defendant. Thank you, counsels. The positions of the prosecution and defense have been clearly stated. Lord Van Zykes, summon your first witness, please. At once, my lord. The prosecution calls the engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, to the stand. State your name and occupation for the court. Name, Enoch Drebber. Occupation? Hard to pin down, I would say. See the black monocle? Yes, why do I feel as though I've seen it somewhere before? Oh, you too? Exactly the same feeling myself. Yeah. I wonder what that's about. Interesting. Unless they've all seen his likeness in the Madame Tussauds exhibition. Oh yeah, that's where he's from. Dude, you've got a waxwork. Cool. Your file indicates you are currently being investigated in connection with another case, the theft of a waxwork model. Is it? Most extraordinary sounding business. But that has no bearing on this trial, I assure you. Cleave it from your mind. Is he a coin-operated boy? Yes, would you like to know where the coin slot is? Sorry, Nah, I think he's just a little bit weird. You're familiar with the public experiment carried out at the Great Exhibition some days ago, the accused super high voltage instantaneous kinesis demonstration? Yes, you could say that. I am aware of it. There was a terrible accident, wasn't there? It was you, Mr. Drebber, who constructed the vast machine used in the experiment. Also, our investigation indicates. Can you confirm your involvement? Yes, I constructed it, in precise accordance with the blueprints, but that's all. And the court would be very interested to hear your thoughts about the machine, I'm sure. Accessing memory. An amazing device, if you ask me, the pinnacle of modern science, making instantaneous kinesis a reality at last. Oh, I know it's kind of where to find the coin slot. I bet you do. What? Good gracious! You mean to say that the experiment was bona fide? Is that your belief, sir? Yes, that is very much my belief. Such a waste that it blew Objection. Up. But we've already established the machine was nothing more than a prop for an elaborate conjuring Objection. Trick. That we really haven't. You've established nothing of the sort. All that was shown during yesterday's proceedings is that the same outcome could have been produced by means of stage trickery. The defense merely proposed a method and demonstrated its feasibility, nothing more. But... We've procrastinated long enough, I feel. Witness, you will give your formal testimony about the machine that you constructed for the purpose of the demonstration at the Great Exhibition. Understood. I met the young professor approximately 1 year ago through Mr. Asman's introduction. He provided me with the blueprint and I constructed the machine to his precise specification. It was no trick. If the whole show was a fraud, it would have required a body double. Tell me, did the victim have a twin? All the spectators saw the birdcage appear above their heads and then crash headfirst into the crystal tower. A terrible accident, I grant you. Perhaps the science on the machine was flawed somehow. A body double? That goes without saying, surely. To give the impression that something has moved when in reality it hasn't. It's a basic conjuring principle. The deception cannot be achieved without substituting the original with a fake at some point in the performance. But would I be right in saying you haven't managed to establish anything along those lines? Incidentally, the prosecution has already confirmed that Mr. Asman had no twin sibling. It is my understanding that the witness is very versed in conjuring artfulness. But such talents do not indicate that he was actually able to accomplish what he claims, namely the construction of what by all accounts must have been an extremely complex scientific machine. Whatever do you mean? Yesterday's proceedings brought the true nature of your past exploits to light, Mr. Drebber. Indeed it did, my lord. As a swindler who preys on innocent scientists to elicit government grant money through conjuring know-how. Yes, it's true that I possess considerable knowledge of stage magic. But crucially, my scientific knowledge more than matches that of any academic in the field. Investigation of the witness's workshop attests to that claim, my lord. As evidence, the police found this Royal Society trophy for young talent in the science there. Yeah, but the guy in the jury who's part of the Royal Society says that they have nothing to do with Drebber, so why would he have a trophy? Unless it's from like when he was a kid and he showed promise and then they kicked him out later, but he's kept the trophy ever since. Yes, that's true. We spotted it there ourselves. If a hypothesis is sound, it can always be forged into physical manifestation with sufficient skill. Though I may have sold the secrets of some deceptive willies, deceptive willies, of some deceptive, no, it's all falling apart. Let me start this one again. Hang on. 3, 2, just gonna cut this bit. 1, go. Though I may have sold the secrets of some deceptive wiles to snivelling, talentless scientists in the past. Deceptive Willie. Cut that bit as well. Would you therefore assert that the explosion of the machine was an unfortunate accident, or, of course, a deliberate act of murder carried out by misuse of the science? Gotta watch out for them deceptive willies. Oof. Counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord. Alright, here we go. Right, so we met the professor a year ago through Asman's introduction. Hold it! So you were already acquainted with Mr. Asman himself? Not really. By chance, I'd seen his name mentioned in the papers, that's all. But I had no interest in his private affairs. If he was an unscrupulous investor, it was no concern of mine. As long as people pay their bills, I take up my tools and construct what they ask for. So why did Mr. Asman approach you in particular then? Who can say? I presume because my name is associated with excellence in engineering, not to mention excellence in fraud. Hard to gauge, but the point is, all I did was construct the machine according to the blueprints I was given. In other words, the Kinesis machine was built on solid scientific principles. Yes, you might say that. Professor Harebrain certainly has a mind like no other. Right, so he gave the blueprints and he constructed the machine. There was no trick. Hold it! It's clear that you have both scientific knowledge and knowledge of conjuring magic. However, the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to handle whatever comes along. But your implication is that I furnished the machine with some trickery, I think. It's a possibility that you have to explore. Unfortunately, though, the machine has been blown to Kingdom Come. So there's really nothing left to explore, is there? It appears that the Kinesis machine was fitted with a timed explosive device of some sort. And there's nothing left of the device either. Not a single shred of evidence remaining, I hear. He must have planned this all from the outset. But in any case, it's abundantly clear that the experiment could have been a trick. If the whole show was a fraud, it would have required a body double. Well, I think this is where we're going to bring up the glass shard that we found in the waxwork model. Of course, that's it. Mr. Asman was a twin.
Objection!
God, Ryu. He weren't listening earlier, was he? Perhaps my learned friend wasn't listening earlier. Mr. Asman has no twin sibling. Not that you know of. You hear about twins who were separated at birth, though. No, I heard you before, but the thread of hope hadn't quite left me. The demonstration would have been a trick if there was somebody who looked sufficiently like the victim. But Dr. South absolutely ruled that out as a possibility. It is beyond question that the victim himself, Mr. Asman, did not move from the stage to the Crystal Tower. The fingerprints found at the scene attest to the fact. So it can't have been orchestrated using someone who looked identical to Mr. Asman then. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, no, nothing. I'm thinking nothing. I have a blank mind. Just that the idea of someone who looked identical to the victim is playing on my mind. Yeah, but he's thinking about it the wrong way around. He needs to think about it the other way. The real Mr. Asman was on the stage at the start of the experiment, and the thing that fell out of the sky wasn't. That was the double. It was a waxwork. Alright, so the spectators saw the cage appear above their heads and crash headfirst to the tower.
Hold it!
It crashed headfirst, you say? According to the many witness reports from those there at the time, yes. Were you not there at the exhibition grounds on the day? Unlikely. I rarely leave my workshop. Yet another of your unique inventions was found at the scene. Well, it was the unveiling of a machine I'd laboured over for many months. I saw it clearly with my own eyes, the birdcage plummeting headfirst to the tower. What a surprise, suddenly you were there. I believe the victim's neck was broken from the headlong fall, wasn't it? And how would you have come by that information? Even an infernal recluse like me reads the newspapers, you know. According to the reports, 2 injuries were apparent on the victim's body. Yes, he'd been stabbed in the chest by a screwdriver believed to belong to the defendant. And then, he had broken vertebrae resulting from a fall of a considerable height. Correct, my learned friend has been doing his research, it seems. No, we talked about it yesterday in the trial. Do we know which injury was the fatal one? Sadly not. Forensic science is not yet at the level where such things can be determined. What we do know is that the victim died having sustained both injuries at some point during the experiment, since he was found in the birdcage with his neck broken. It's obvious that he fell from a considerable height. That is hard to deny. I had forgotten about the broken neck. So, come back to the diagram. My idea is that the real Mr. Asman got into the machine here, and that a fake body double was hidden inside a balloon up here. And that when the machine was switched on, we saw the picture with smoke. In fact, I'll show you the picture. People that may have missed it. This is a picture taken by a kid on one of the balloons. Here's the empty green balloon, which nobody knows who owns, but we found the mock-up of this in Dreba's place, but we had to destroy it in order to get what was inside of it. The machine spewed out a whole load of steam, and then we see a flaming arrow hitting this balloon. This is where people saw the body. And here we see Asman inside in the cage. Well, my idea was that he drops down into the base underneath it, under the stage. And then when this pops, another body came flying down and crashed into the crystal tower. Alright. Smash. I'd forgotten about the broken neck, however, so would this be enough going down here to break the guy's neck, and then he would have stabbed him afterwards if he wasn't still dead? Because we know for real now that the base does indeed open up. Because that's what's left of it after the explosion. Such a nice picture, too bad no colour. Yep. So yeah, he dropped down into here. Would that have been enough to break the guy's neck anyway? And then he was stabbed for good measure, and then the screwdriver planted back at the scene afterwards to make it look like the scientist had done it. And what fell down in another bird cage like this one. That's this is the thing as well, if it fell head first, there's no damage here, look. I've just realised there's no damage at the top. But if he fell head first, why is the bottom the bit that's broken? This cage that Asmon was in fell in an entirely different orientation to the one that came out of the sky. It's just struck me. This is the linchpin. Okay. Well, let's see where we use that. A terrible accident, perhaps the science was flawed.
Hold it!
So you understand the science, did you? Not in the slightest. Oh, right. As I've said a number of times, I'm an engineer. My job is to manufacture according to the blueprints I am given. I would be inviting manifold problems if I foolishly allowed my brain to digest the ideas behind them. I could be accused of stealing those ideas, for example. How is it possible to construct a machine without really understanding the principle it relies on? Well, you're practicing law without really understanding the principle it relies on, aren't you? Wow. Burn! A very good point. Stand up for yourself, Mr. Naruhodo. Don't take that lying down, you wimp. The point is the experiment resulted in an instantaneous kinesis taking place. As such, the science must be sound. Yes, and really, experimental results are all that matters when it comes to proving a hypothesis. So Naruhodo doesn't know science behind the law. Not really, no. He was an English literature student before he decided to go on the lawyer path to basically carry on Kazuma's legacy. I mean, the sword he's carrying down there is actually Kazuma's sword. So he's certainly very sure of himself. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, I think I'm going to run away and join the circus. No, well, now that the machine is being completely destroyed by yesterday's explosion, it's going to be impossible to argue the authenticity one way or another. But if we're unable to establish that it was a piece of stage trickery rather than genuine science, we'll have no grounds on which to demonstrate Professor Harebrain's innocence. And both Mr. Asmon and this man in the stand tricked the professor and used him. They took advantage of his naivety and his unbending belief in his work, and I won't let them get away with it. Seeing as the professor is an old friend of Lord Van Zuyck's, what on earth must he be feeling towards Drebber? Alright, so he met him a year ago, lines up with what we knew, provided him with the blueprints and constructed the machine to his specifications. It was no trick. The whole show was a fraud. It would have required a body double. And the spectators saw the birdcage appear above their heads and crash headfirst to the tower. And then the science is flawed. This is speculative. We can't really argue this one away. But these two here, it would have required a body double, and they saw the birdcage above their heads and crash headfirst into the tower. Well, now that I've figured the significance of the broken birdcage we have in evidence of having been broken at the bottom, not at the top. Yeah. Maybe that's the one we go with. Where's the picture? Oh, there it is. The other thing is, you can see it's also like a point on the bottom, only just. You can only just see it, whereas this one's flattened out at the bottom. So this definitely fell down bottom first, which only supports my theory that it fell through the trapdoor and floop, landed underneath here, and then this trapdoor closed again. I'm not even, you know, I'm not even gonna save it first.
Objection!
It worked! So smart. We've examined the bird cage that crashed into the Crystal Tower ourselves. As you can see, the cage, which is a wooden construction, has sustained damage in one particular spot. Following the explosion, it fell some 30 feet into the glass of the Crystal Tower. That level of damage is to be expected, surely. I agree, the damage itself is entirely understandable. What doesn't make sense is the location of the damage. All the breakages in the wood are at the base of the birdcage, not the top. What are you saying? That's the opposite of where they should be. That's exactly it. That's right, my lord. The birdcage that was at the scene is damaged at the base, so we have reports of a birdcage falling headlong into the Crystal Tower, yet the damage is at the bottom. The only way to reconcile these two facts is to accept there were two bird cages in play that day which were at some point switched. Switched during what wasn't a scientific experiment at all, but an elaborate piece of stage trickery. Gah! Good gracious, explain yourself, witness. Well, if we examine the facts, there's only one logical conclusion we can draw. The damage on the base of the birdcage clearly indicates that it crashed tail first into the tower. But multiple witness reports claim it fell head first. The birdcage materialized in the sky next to a balloon flying over the stage following a spontaneous explosion at an altitude of some 60 feet above ground level, which is approximately 18 meters. It then proceeded to fall some 30 feet into the Crystal Tower in the ensuing deflagration. Witness reports amid such chaos are notoriously unreliable. The victim's neck was broken. He plummeted 30 feet inside a heavy wooden cage. However he fell, it would be unsurprising to find one or two of his vertebrae crushed. What a weird way to laugh. A riveting scientific analysis of events from the prosecution there. Though, to be even more rigorous, you would have to say it was only one vertebra actually. He wasn't quiet for long. I find it hard to see what's motivating Lord Van Zykes. The witness is clearly a swindler and one who deceived a personal friend of his. It's professionalism, that's what's motivating him. If you're going to establish this deception, do it right. Sorry? I feel like that's the undertone here. Yeah, he needs to push hard so that we push back hard, and it can be irrefutable. If he just rolls over and takes this, then people will say it was a sham trial. Ah, yes, and there's one point in the defense appears to have forgotten. It obviously wasn't a trick, as a certain truth very plainly demonstrates. What? It seems to me that the cross-examination had better continue till we resolve the matter. Mr. Drebber, you will amend your testimony with details of this truth. Of course, we must treat the matter scientifically, after all. I nearly had him there. Come on, Mr. Roboto, do your thing. The kinesis clearly took place because there's nowhere else 30 feet high for the birdcage to have fallen down from. Ah! Gotcha! Let's press him first. We've got the picture of the opening. What do you mean? Well, before the demonstration began, the victim was alive on stage in front of an audience. Yes, there are lots of witnesses who saw Mr. Asman on the experimentation stage, that's true. And the victim's neck broke as a result of an impact following a fall. Logically, therefore, the victim must have fallen from somewhere. The balloon that exploded was at the altitude of 60 feet. The point of impact on the tower was 30 feet up. That difference for 30 feet is therefore the total distance the birdcage fell. And there's no other location from which the cage could have fallen that distance if it didn't drop out of the sky. Ergo, the victim himself must have been beamed from the stage to the sky above the Crystal Tower. A trenchant scientific analysis? Dear me, every time I hear it explained it sounds increasingly plausible. Dapus, hello! How are you? Come on in! How's life treating you today, Dapus? Are you well? Did you have a good weekend? Oh, yes. It's all very well thought out. Certainly all the spectators on the day saw it. The birdcage plummeting 30 feet through the air, I mean. Irritatingly, yes. Good, thank you. Yourself had a blast this weekend. A good birthday party. Oh, nice. Whose birthday? Yours? Was it your birthday? You just got home from some Christmas shopping. Nice. Oh, I hope you got everything you needed. Was this your birthday then? Either way, I hope you had a good party. Well, it sounds like you did anyway. Did you get very drunk? What are we asking? Of course you did. Well, I'm glad to hear you had a great weekend. That's fantastic. I'm not doing too bad as well, thank you very much. Just keeping fingers crossed that the snow that we're getting doesn't kill my internet. Your birthday was last Monday, so you celebrated the Saturday, so yes, of course. Of course. Alright, okay, so this was like a delayed party. Well, happy birthday for last Monday, I did not know that. Congratulations, happy birthday. Oh, I'm glad you had a good weekend then, yeah. But yeah, we got tons of snow here over the weekend, from like Friday overnight into Saturday, and then we had a power cut on Saturday, and then when it came back, the internet didn't come back with it because something had gone wrong somewhere else, and you know, maybe the line was down or the power was out in that area. We lost the internet again earlier today while I was setting the stream up. It came back after 20 seconds, but there's power outages all over the place still because of the snow. So, yeah, just keeping my fingers crossed that the internet fairies are kind today. You're awaiting snow tonight. Ooh, we'll wrap up warm, plenty of hot chocolate. That's what you need. Alright, so the kinesis took place. There's nowhere for the birdcage to have fallen down from. Okay, so with this, here's the thing. The stage where it crashed is about here, so it's almost as high as the actual stand anyway. And if it went all the way to the bottom, that's quite big. It's quite a long way down. But it could have still damaged the cage when it landed and broke part of the base, and maybe even snapped his neck. And then Drebber stabbed him for good measure. So I think we go with this though. Now that the machine was destroyed by the time bomb that was hidden inside it after the trial, we can see that this was clearly set up as a trapdoor. So in a way, his own attempt to destroy evidence has given us the exact evidence we needed. This is something they would have definitely found out if the forensics team had been allowed to take it apart anyway and figure out how it worked. They would have seen all the trickery. They would have seen the smoke machines, would have seen the trapdoor. Yeah. So I guess we go with this.
Objection!
No, we don't! The defense would have to object to that last statement, my lord. And I would have to overrule your objection, counsel. The defense would have to accept the penalty given. Glad to hear it. And you would also have to think again, False. Okay. There was nowhere else for the birdcage to have fallen. Alright, well I am going to save scum now. I mean, I'm going to back the game up just in case we do have that internet loss / power cut. Then I can always come back to this with you guys without losing any progress. Yeah. There was nowhere for the birdcage to have fallen from. Do we go with the map?
Objection!
Okay, we go with the map. Is this guy all cogs and stuff? I don't know, this guy's got some kind of problem. Yeah, he's very Mr. Roboto. He's leaning into the whole, like, I'm an engineer and I like robots and mechanics and stuff trope, so yeah. This is a diagram of the experimentation stage and its surroundings. I must admit, I dig that mechanical hand. That's pretty cool. He's a coin-operated boy. Yeah, we don't speak of where the coin slot is. We know that somehow the birdcage appeared in the midair before falling down to the crystal tower. Put the coin in his slot and it works. A fall of about 30 feet or 9 meters. However, if you examine the diagram carefully, you'll see there is one other possible location from which the birdcage could have fallen. The same distance of 30 feet. No. Thank you for converting, game, yeah. Doing a lot of, like, imperial to metric on this. Well, it appears the defense has a possible explanation to put forward. Go ahead, counsel. Yes, my lord. Of course. You will indicate the place on which you are referring on the same diagram. The alternative location from which the birdcage could have possibly fallen the requisite 30 feet. Well, that's actually much higher up. But the distance from there to there is probably the same of there to there. So, there.
Take that!
Who's the other shady guy behind the vampire lord? That's his judicial assistant, who also has amnesia and never speaks to anybody other than him. And no one is allowed to know his identity. Because it's Kazuma Asogi from the first game, I think. I called it the minute Ryu said, you know, like, that guy's familiar somehow. There's something about him that's familiar. Oh, and I'm like, you're rubbing this in-game. All right, it's Kazuma. I get it. He's actually dead. He's not dead. Which does present a problem, because it means that Sholmes lied to us. And we asked him about this afterwards, because when Susato came back in the last trial, she then met this guy in the course of this trial, and she immediately was all like, wait, is that Kazuma? You know, as soon as she met him. And we even questioned Van Zykes about it, and he was like, what? I don't know. So I was asked this guy to be my judicial assistant, so I'm training him up, and he has amnesia. Lord Chief Justice's orders, just deal with the kid. So he doesn't know what we're talking about, so he's not part of it. But then we went to Sholmes and we're like, dude, did you lie to us about Kazuma? You inspected his body, and you claimed he was dead. And he gave us a non-answer. So, yeah. And yes, he used the sword to open the wine bottle. It was fucking incredible. Hopefully he'll do it again. I'm wondering what's going to happen when we're going to destroy glasses and bottles, though. I'm back. How is everybody today? Nanny, welcome back. Doing good. We're big braining on this particular case right now. But yeah, guy with the mask. It's very, non-subtly hinting that it's Kazuma Asogi, who wasn't really dead. We know that there's no one in his grave back in Japan because Susato found out from her father that that Kazuma's body never returned from Hong Kong after they offloaded his body from the SS Buria on the trip over to England. And then suddenly this guy shows up with amnesia. Like, yeah, sure. That's just strange, yeah. So it makes you wonder, what has Sholmes got to do with all this? Why did he lie? We'll figure it out. We'll work it out as we go. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait for the real explanation and the plot drop. It's going to be good. But the place I'm referring to is here. Maybe a favor to his dead buddy? Maybe. Could well be. Because we know that Kazuma Asogi's name was on a list of names alongside John H. Wilson, Doctor who died, Iris's dad, his Sholmes' old partner. Gregson's on the list, and so was someone called A. Shun. And we found out that was actually Giselle Brett, the Swan Lady, from the first game and from the first case in this second game as well. She was actually the murder victim. And she was killed as well. And it's like, shit's going on here that we don't know about. So, yeah. The fact that Asogi was dead, Giselle Brett, aka A. Shun, was dead, and also Kazuma supposedly dead. Maybe he went into hiding if they knew that they knew there was some kind of big conspiracy going. I wonder if it has something to do with Baskerville as well. And we know this case does, because the professor is the guy with the Hound of the Baskerville case, because he used a giant hound to hunt his victims and kill them. That's cool. So we know that's going to come back around to Baskerville. Yeah, that's where the birdcage would have been to begin with. Oh dear, yes. Which is exactly the point, my lord. Yes, the birdcage was in the machine on the stage, but what we must also consider is the height of the stage itself. Go on, Counsel. Turns out the experimentation stage was built at a considerable height above the ground, if you look at the diagram, in fact. Yeah, why didn't they do this at ground level, where people would have been able to see it easier? Why did it need to be on a great big frigging stand? You'll see it's about the same height above the ground as the balloon is above the crash site. When the experiment got underway, the machine and the birdcage were engulfed in steam. There we go. I've had this hypothesis now for several streams. It's finally coming out. These are the satisfying moments. At that moment, the floor of the stage gave way, and if we assume there to be a void underneath, this birdcage and the one at the scene by the audience would have fallen at exactly the same distance. Once again, my lord, this all points to the fact that there was not one birdcage but two.
Objection!
My learned friend has no evidence that the stage had such a contrivance in its design. He never looked at the photo he presented to the court at the start of this day, did he? Someone is responsible for the criminal destruction of the Kinesis machine itself, it's true. However, the stage still stands. And take a moment to look at the photographic print of the scene that follows yesterday's explosion. Good lord, the metal grill that formed the floor of the machine is undone! Yes, most likely blown open by the force of the explosion that destroyed the rest of the machine. The defense calls for the space below the stage to be investigated immediately. Mr. Drebber. It was you who built the Kinesis machine, which means that it was you who built the 2 bird cages that were used to carry out the deception. Whether Professor Harebrain's hypothesis is sound or not makes no difference because it's the construction of this machine that matters, a machine designed to take Mr. Asmon's life. And lay the blame firmly at the Professor's door, something that could only have been carried out by you, Mr. Enoch Drebber. Grr! Urga! Urg!
Objection!
Uh-oh. Wink! There's another one! Yes! So good. If my learned friend has reached the end of this wild assertions. The prosecution would like to crush the defense's argument slowly but surely. Whoa. Damn, bro. You don't need to be so intense all the time. Your argument fails to hold water. Yes, and your glass fails to hold wine. Shut up. On 2 counts. 2? Firstly, before and after the experiment, this witness went nowhere near the Kinesis machine. Every relevant member of staff from the exhibition has attested to that. And I believe the members of Scotland Yard have also been on watch duty at the very public experiment. In other words, Mr. Drebber had no opportunity to switch the alleged pair of bird cages. Yeah, that's the thing. How would he have switched them later? I've already explained why he wouldn't have needed to. The nonsense with the crossbow, that doesn't bolster your case at all. The man who disappeared from the stage and the man who crashed into the tower are one and the same. The forensics investigation team's report is unequivocal on that point. Oh. And the second flaw in your assertion is a distinct lack of motive. Your comments are entertaining, thank you. I like taking the piss out of games, they're so good. This is why I play a lot of story games, you know? It's like, I have something to rip on. This is just what I do. Why would this man have wanted to take the victim's life? He had no reason to do so. Yeah, we need the motive still. Do I have to think of everything myself? God! I have here a contract provided by the witness. What contract is this, Lord Van Zykes? A contract into which Mr. Drebber entered with the victim, Mr. Asmon. It reads, Mr. Drebber is to receive 30% of all remuneration from government grants or other income. 30%? Certainly very favourable contractual conditions. But there was one very important provision bolted onto that clause. Let me guess. Unless I die, in which case he gets nothing. We get so much from Wolf playing story games, such as Deceitful Willies. Yes! Gotta watch out for them Deceitful Willies. You know? They can be anywhere. What provision? Mr. Drebber may only uphold this right on condition that both contracting parties are alive. In other words, if either of us were to die, the contract would become null and void. So, you see, I had nothing to gain from Mr. Asmon's death. A diametric opposite, in fact. Ugh. Need I say more? The witness had neither an opportunity nor the reason to commit the alleged crime. In short, the possibility of Mr. Drebber having done as you suggest is nil. Ah! It seems the defence's assertions were somewhat wide of the mark. Lord Van Zykes, you will submit the contract as evidence, please. We need to have a good look at that. Let's see, what do we get? The investor, Mr. Odie Asmon, hereby enters into contract with the provider, Mr. Enoch Drebber, to fund labor and materials for the construction of a super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine. Mr. Drebber is to receive 30% of all remuneration from government grants or other incomes. Mr. Drebber may only uphold the right on condition that both contracting parties are alive. And then there's 2 signatures. They're going to become important, I bet. Are we going to see some signatures later? So we know there's nothing with a signature on it, is there? So, okay. It's true. If Drebber had no opportunity to switch the birdcage under the stage with the one in the Crystal Tower, he couldn't have done it. And in any case, I have no idea what his motive might have been. There is one aspect of your argument that still holds true, however. There were 2 bird cages. The prosecution is unable to deny that. Ah! So I'm sure you're on the right line, Mr. Naruhodo. And I've no doubt there are other aspects of your assertion that are undeniable truths too. Yeah, I am good at this. Bye-bye, self-doubt. Thank you, Susato.